Hey guys, this is Dan from Let's Tank, and today we're going to be looking at the Demon Hunter and the BFA beta. Now, gameplay wise, there's not much that's changed with the Demon Hunter. There's a few quality of life changes, but for the most part, the Demon Hunter is going to play pretty much the same as it does in Legion currently. Now, is this a bad thing? No, it's not. If you like playing the Demon Hunter, you're going to love playing it right now. A really great thing that I really loved about the Demon Hunter was you didn't really have to worry about the threat nerf at all, because all I was doing was jumping in, putting my immolation aura up, and I'd keep aggro on pretty much everything, which is really great, as you don't have to worry about threat, and it's brilliant if you're new to tanking, or you just can't be bothered dealing with the threat side of tanking. As I didn't really play Demon Hunter in Legion, my personal thoughts on the BFA Demon Hunter is that it's really fun to play, really great, the momentum of it's really good, really strong. Pain generation, which is the resource if you don't know anything about Demon Hunter, is really nice. It goes up smoothly, it isn't built up in clunks like say a druid, so I really like that about them. And what you spend pain on feels really nice. It doesn't feel like it's overcharged, it just feels at the right amount. Another really good thing about the Demon Hunter is the GCD change on defensive abilities doesn't really affect you too much, which is a really big bonus for me, as I don't really like the GCD change, as most people don't. So if you don't like that change, obviously stick with your Demon Hunters if you're already playing one, or if you're looking for a tank to move from to, definitely think about going to a Demon Hunter. And finally, the survivability of the Demon Hunter feels also extremely strong. I was having pretty much no problems in the dungeon surviving or healing up whatsoever. And for talent changes, it feels like they've gone pretty simple. They haven't tried to change them too much, so you're pretty much going to be seeing what you've already seen in Legion. But some of the talent changes are quality of life changes, like Fracture is a really big example. Instead of it being its own ability, it now transforms Shear to Fracture, which I really liked. I like the idea behind that, like empowering abilities, and it just makes that ability a little bit stronger. Some people might not like this change, but for me personally, I really enjoyed it. And then apart from Void Reaver talent, which I'll talk about when I get into the talents overall, there's not too much that's really changed. I think they were a bit strong at the beginning of the BFA beta, but now with the shield changes to Prot Warrior and Protection Paladin, I think they're probably going to come in line a little bit with them two tanks. But as I've already mentioned, really easy tank to pick up and play, really fun tank to play. They've got great movability, great survivability, and they're just a really cool tank just to try out and do some cool tricks with. So now let's have a look at the talents and the changes that they've made. As I said, there's not too many, but there is a few, and there's a few quality of life changes as well. So let's have a look at tier 1. So we still have the same 3 talents, which are Abyssal Strike, Agonizing Flames, and Razor Spikes. The only change to this tier is that Razor Spikes has received a nerf. Instead of 30% increased physical damage, while Demon Spikes is active, it's now gone to 15%, so it's a slight nerf. However, it's still a really strong talent in raids. This tier now feels like, to me, do you want to be able to use your leap a lot more? Do you need like movement speed to pick up some adds? Or do you just need to stand there, take the damage, and just pump out as much DPS as you can using the Razor Spike talent? Now for tier 2, we still have the same talents again, which are Feast of Souls, Fallout, and Burning Alive, and all these talents remain exactly the same. For tier 3, we have Flame Crash, Charred Flesh, and Fellblade. Now, Flame Crash and Fellblade are still the same. Charred Flesh replaces Fell Eruption, and what Charred Flesh does is Fiery Brand increases the fire damage your abilities deal to the target by 20%. So this is a really strong talent. It's probably not as strong as Flame Crash for overall damage, but for a nice burst of damage if you're struggling to hold threat on a big target mob, for example, especially with the threat nerfs, this can really help just gain that snap aggro you're going to need. Or say you're doing like a taunt swap and the other tank does more damage than you, and you just need to get that bit of burst during your taunt up time, then this is going to help you keep the aggro off the other tank. So it's something to consider, but for the most part, I still think Flame Crash is going to be a bit stronger overall, especially if he's talenting Abyssal Strike in the tier 1 section. Now for tier 4, we have the same talents still, but they have been changed a little bit. We still have Feed the Demon, Soul Rendering, and Fracture. Now, Feed the Demon has had a slight nerf. Instead of reducing the cooldown on Demon Spikes by 1 second, for every Soul Fragment you consume, it's now 0.5 seconds. Soul Rendering has also been changed. Instead of just getting your passive of getting 50% leech while Metamorphosis, it's now been changed to give you a flat 5% leech increase, and then while you're metamorphosized, you get 25% leech as well. Finally, Fracture has also had a slight change, pretty much a quality of life change with this talent. So instead of getting the skill Fracture, which would brutally slam the target, dealing X amount of physical damage and shatter 2 lesser soul fragments from them, and it would cost you 30 pain, the new Fracture replaces Shear. It doesn't have a pain cost. It does now, however, have 2 charges and a 3.7 second recharge time, which is affected by your haste, and it's pretty much going to do the exact same as what it currently does. So it's going to rapidly slash your target for X amount of physical damage and shatter 2 lesser soul fragments from them. It's also going to generate 25 pain. So this is a really strong talent in my opinion, and you're probably going to be using this over the other 2 for the most part. In some situations you might want to take Feed the Demon if you need a lower cooldown on your Demon Spike ability, but to me Fracture just seems a little bit overpowered. Now for the tier 5 tier, everything remains the same. So we've still got Concentrated Sigils, Sigil of Chains, and Quickening Sigils. They all remain exactly the same. For tier 6 we have Spirit Bomb, Fell Devastation, and Gluttony. Gluttony being the new talent I'm replacing. Blade Turning, and what Gluttony does, it's a passive, and consuming a soul fragment has a chance to activate Metamorphosis for 5 seconds. So this is actually a pretty strong talent, especially in single target situations. Depending on how often this actually procs from getting a soul fragment will determine how strong the talent's actually going to be. Spirit Bomb has received a pretty big nerf. It now costs 30 pain to cast. It is now capped at 5 soul fragments, and the heal you get is only 10% of all damage you deal to enemies with frailty. Previously, Spirit Bomb was free to cast, so you could pretty much spam it, and it would also heal you for 20% instead of the 10% that we have now. Fell Devastation has not really been changed. Now for the final tier, we still have Last Resort. We also have Soul Barrier, and we have a new talent called Void Reaver. Now Last Resort remains the same, so it's still a pretty strong talent with a huge cooldown on it. Soul Barrier has had a slight change. It no longer costs any pain to cast. It still does have its 30-second recharge time on it, and it's also had its Absorption Cannot Be Reduced effect removed also. Now the new talent Void Reaver, it's a passive, and enemies struck by Soul Cleave deal 6% less damage to you for 12 seconds. Now this to me is a really strong talent, and it's another option instead of Last Resort. It's especially good against, say, spellcasters and stuff, because it's going to reduce that magic damage on you because it's just a flat DR instead of just being, say, a physical DR like most of your other abilities. So this is very interesting talent, and it's probably going to be slightly stronger than Last Resort because of Last Resort's huge cooldown. But again, it depends on the situation. Last Resort will save you from that 1 death, so it will be good in progression. But personally, I'll probably be going with Void Reaver on this talent, because unless you've got another spender instead of Soul Cleave that you've talented into, then nothing's really going to beat Void Reaver as a talent just because of its flat DR, in my opinion. Now, if I was to take Spirit Bomb, I probably would go Last Resort, just because I'd be spending my pain on Spirit Bomb instead of the Soul Cleave. So just keep that in mind. It pretty much is going to be down to how you talent your character and what you're trying to get out of it. So now I just wanted to quickly talk about the Consume Magic, which is a new skill you get as a Demon Hunter. And this has a 30-yard range, and it's instant cast with a 10-second cooldown. And what it's going to do, it's going to consume 1 beneficial magic effect from the target, removing it and granting you 20 pain. Now this is going to be a really strong skill, especially in your Mythic Plus dungeons. Removing beneficial buffs from mobs and bosses is huge, especially ones that increase the damage. So this is something very unique to the Demon Hunter tank. I believe early on in the beta, Death Knights did have something like this, but it obviously got removed, unfortunately. So in a raid or a Mythic Plus setting, this is definitely a bonus on the Demon Hunter side. So keep that in mind when you're choosing a tank. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the GCD change doesn't really affect Demon Hunters too much. Your Demon Spikes as well as your Metamorphosis are still off the GCD. Fiery Brand, however, is on the GCD. So just keep that in mind. You've got 2 off, 1 on, which is pretty good overall. So as I said earlier, Demon Hunters are really up there. I think they're going to be one of the stronger tanks. Even with the block changes to Warrior and Paladin, I still think Demon Hunters are going to be on par with both them classes. And they've got a nice talent system to change how they play slightly, and they can adapt really well to different situations. Anyway guys, that's my overall impression and preview of the Demon Hunter tank. Thanks for watching, and please like, comment and subscribe for more videos.